Healing through the arts. That's next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to City Corner. Recently, 10 grants were awarded as part of the Arts and Healing Initiative. Dr. Ken Haller is here to explain that. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve. Really, my pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you in years.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's Dr. Ken Haller. You happen to be a pediatrician.
I am, yes.
And we'll talk a little bit. That all kind of relates to what we're going to talk about.
Right.
These grants total something like $100,000.
Right.
I guess here's what I want you to explain to me first. It's kind of complicated. I know that for something like 6 years, you were on the board of the Missouri Foundation for Health.
Right.
And this is a project, I guess, that combines that organization and the Arts and Education Council of Greater St. Louis?
Right, exactly.
So how do those two work together, and what are they?
Yeah, well, as you said, I was on the board of the Missouri Foundation for Health, and what they do is they're an organization that has an endowment that they use to create grants for promoting health in underserved communities. Now, for many years, those grants were primarily for communities that were that were underserved and were direct service things. So it would be like a clinic in a small town or an inner city, which is great and wonderful.
For health things like the flu or whatever.
Yeah, to help with the flu or kids with vaccinations, things like that, and they still do that. But while I was on the board, during the time I was on the board, they started moving some funds into what's called an opportunity grant program. And those were grants for things that would look more upstream at what causes health problems. So they would be about looking at what we call the social determinants of health to see if there are ways that we could, perhaps make the environment better for people so they don't get sick to begin with.
Social determinants of health.
Social determinants of health. Yeah, so social determinants of health are things that are, what causes you to be unhealthy. One of the big ones is called toxic stress. Now, toxic stress is when people live in an environment where they do not get the emotional support they need. As you said, I'm a pediatrician. I work at Cardinal Glennon, and many of my patients, unfortunately, suffer from toxic stress because they are living in environments that are in many ways so impoverished. The parents are working so hard just to keep a roof over their heads that they don't have the emotional energy to care for their kids. And therefore, the kids what happens is a child's body over time gets into a stress mode all the time. And that can lead to problems with, things like asthma, with allergies, with eczema, things like that. It can also cause the body to not respond as well to infections. So these things can cause lifelong problems.
It sounds like it's a combination of physical and mental.
Right, physical, mental, environmental. So environmental factors, environmental pollution, poor housing, food insecurity, things like that. When kids grow up in environments like that, they can have these health problems. And so what the foundation was doing was starting to look at how can we work on these things so that these things are improved and kids are not in environments where they end up getting sick to begin with.
And then how did the Missouri Foundation for Health hook up with the Arts and Education Council?
Well, as I was rotating off the board of the Missouri Foundation for Health, I was asked to be on the board of the Arts and Education Council of Greater St. Louis. And I started thinking about this and working with some of the folks there to say, how about if we try to come up with a program that would really try to address this from an arts standpoint. Because over the years, there's really been a lot of research and a lot of evidence to show that when people are involved in the arts, or even if they are people who appreciate the arts, who have art presented to them and they can enjoy it, that seems to be somewhat protective against these toxic stress issues. So I worked with the folks at A&E, the Arts and Education Council, and we talked to the folks of the Missouri Foundation for Health to see if we might be able to come up with some program that we call the Arts and Healing Initiative. And so what happened was the Missouri Foundation for Health created a 5-year grant program that would be administered by the Arts and Education Council to look at arts organizations that would have a project that would specifically try to address healing.
Okay, before we go any farther, we've got a short video I'd like to share with our audience. It kind of helps set the stage, and then we'll pick up on this. Let's take a look.
The Arts and Education Council is a nonprofit that's operated in St. Louis for over 60 years, helping create a vibrant and sort of growing arts ecosystem. It was started by corporate leaders 60 years ago, really to help be a conduit to fund not only the existing arts organizations, but help create new arts organizations across the region. For the last 10 years, there's been a pretty consistent shift in the corporate landscape of funding the arts into other different program types, or in many cases, just cutting funding completely from nonprofit contributions. So A&E has been examining how we can better serve the community going forward in the face of those changes, and where we can really thrive and help our arts ecosystem continue to be inclusive and vibrant and really a great asset to the St. Louis region.
We realized a few months ago that the way we were operating was not sustainable. So we had to put a halt on things and just kind of turn inward and see how we could perfect what we were doing to make it better, to go another 60 years. Some of those changes are more emphasis on education, because that's a part of our title. And with the changes in the education system and not as much support being given to arts and music, we wanted to fill in that gap.
It's more of an evolution than a revolution. 60 years ago, there were a handful of small arts organizations, and I don't think the world was inclusive of people as it is today. We've made a conscious shift over the last couple of years, probably the last 5, really focusing on developing the next generation of arts organizations. So whereas 60 years ago we helped create incredible institutions like the Opera Theater of St. Louis, now we're looking at what is the next generation of arts organizations. Can we do that? Can we touch more into education? Can we create more opportunity for students and young people? How do we really create the vibrancy that we want across our arts landscape in St. Louis?
A lot of our donations came from corporate entities. And so since their philanthropy giving has shifted, ours has to shift as well, or where we get our funding has to shift, more importantly. So we are looking for more sustainable members of the community. So it doesn't have to be from a corporate entity. If you are willing to give us, $20, $30 a month, you're a sustaining member, and we would love to have you.
We need to help people better understand the role the arts plays in the quality of the experience that we have in a region, how fortunate we are to have such incredible arts institutions in a region, and the opportunity, I think, to really establish St. Louis as a national leader in the place to go where new young artists can sort of take shape. We're never going to out-Broadway Broadway, right? But I think Opera Theater, for example, has demonstrated some incredible abilities with what they've done, nurturing young artists, funding new types of operas, funding new types of programs. I think we can look at a model like that and think of the entire region as this landscape that ties into our entrepreneurs and that ties into a lot of the other technology ecosystems that are evolving here. And I think that creates a multiplier effect for all those economies.
Ken, one thing when I was watching that, it made me think, it helps my mental health to go see the arts, a show or something. I can only imagine what it does for your mental health to be part of the arts.
Oh, it's a remarkable thing. I think that, anyone who has done anything in the arts, whether it's being, an angel in the Christmas pageant, or being a lead in the school play, or creating a mural at your school, that's the sort of thing you hold on to and remember for the rest of your life. And the feedback that you get from that is the sort of thing that can be really protective against some of the health effects of things like toxic stress and other things that may cause distress for someone.
Right. And, being a doctor, too, when you started in the medical field, that wasn't something doctors thought about, was it?
Not a lot, no. The thing is, we do need to know about bacteria. We do need to know about how things flow through the body. We do need to know about anatomy and physiology. But there was a little bit of a disconnect between this and this. And so there has been really just a real surgence of research into the need for arts and for these connections that people make through arts, and how protective they are and how much they promote health.
So what we're talking about today is $100,000 of grants that were recently given to 10 nonprofit organizations. Right. I'm going to read the list down real quick, and we're going to talk about a few of them, as many as we can. And these are all nonprofits, and they really vary in what they do. Different Dynamics, A Call to Conscious, the Women's Safe House, Big Muddy Dance Company, Covering House, Ragtime Film Society, Bread and Roses, Circus Harmony, the Core Collective of St. Vincent, and Pack Dance. What's interesting to me, I thought I knew everything that was going on around town. And a lot of these organizations I know a whole lot about, and others I've never heard of.
Right. And it's the same, when we were putting these grants together and getting applications, It was the same thing. There are organizations where I've gone to their presentations and I've known of them, but others I thought, I've never heard of these people. This sounds really amazing. So people, it's amazing how much really wonderful work is being done in this town.
We have some images that represent these different organizations, and you're just going to tell us a little bit about them, the ones that were awarded this. And before we go to our break, let's talk about different dynamics. This is one of the ones that's not on my radar.
Right. Well, they are, I'm going to refer to my notes because, like I said, I don't know a lot of them as well as others. But one of the things they do is called the Music Exploratorium, or TME. And that is for, particularly for people ages 18 and up, young adults who are neurodivergent, where they can express themselves through music, through drums, through horns, through keyboards. And it is interesting because neurodiversity is something that we're getting much more of a feel for how broadly people perceive the world and perceive themselves and perceive music. So to have something like the Music Exploratorium for people who have often been thought of as not really capable, to allow them to let those creative energies flow is just incredibly healing.
And we're about to take a break, but when we do come back, I want to ask you a little bit about music, because music is involved in your mental health too.
It certainly is.
Right?
Very much so, yes.
All right. This is City Corner, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Oh, have you seen that piece on the Tiffany neighborhood on STL TV?
No.
Let me show you.
My wife and I were looking for homes. We lived in the city all of her life, and there's just a different energy when you're in the city.
Keep up with what's happening in your neighborhood. Watch STL TV. Be in the know.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
Oh, man. I can't believe I'm missing this. Okay, Grandma. I see you.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. It keeps you, your community, and loved ones protected. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
You know, how you feel on the inside is just as important to me as how you feel on the outside.
Oh, Daddy.
I'm grown up, everywhere in every way. Care and take care of you. You're my grown up, and I know you're there. I'm a grown up, and you know I care. 'Cause it's you and me and me and you. So when you are okay or not okay, I'll take care of you.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers.
Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free adult education centers near you.
I tell my son, I love you every single day.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. We're talking with Dr. Ken Haller about how the arts help all of us, really. That's kind of the basic message of it. Recently, there were 10 grants awarded as part of the Arts and Healing Initiative. And Ken, you explained earlier how you were involved in that. You were with the Missouri Foundation for Health for a long time, and you kind of teamed up with the Arts and Education Council, and all these grants have resulted from that. And you're helping small non-for-profits, and one point to make is that some of them are kind of small organizations. So this money is really important to them.
Yes, a $10,000 grant can be life-changing for an organization, both for their immediate needs and also just to give them credibility for when they're doing, fundraising later on. So, but it can really make some dreams come true in ways that are quite remarkable.
Let's mention a couple of more of the recipients, and you can tell us a little bit about them.
Okay. So a call to conscience, they dictate that the arts should benefit individuals and the community in ways that impact us all by focusing on social justice issues that are detrimental to health and well-being. And they do this through 4 components: creative writing, performance, visual art projects, and healing sessions facilitated by Dr. Marty Casey and Renee Cunningham.
Oh, Marty Casey, I know her. She's something.
She's a ball of fire.
I was in a movie with her once.
Were you really?
Yes, that's how I met her.
Yeah. But they do remarkable work. And again, this kind of gets to what we were talking about earlier, the issue around social justice and how people may suffer because of living in socially, economically deprived neighborhoods, and really helping to create some protective mechanisms for people to express themselves and feel fully seen and fully heard.
Let's mention another one of the benefiting organizations, and that's the Women's Safe House.
Sure, let me get my notes here. And I think I know I have it somewhere.
You've got a lot of notes.
I got a lot of notes because there's so many wonderful organizations that are doing things.
How many applied? There were 10.
There were 13 applications.
Oh, that's all.
We were able to take, this year there were 13 applications. We were able to fund 10 of them, and one of them is the Women's Safe House. And they have what are called expressive therapy camps that are arts and music programs designed for residents so that they can benefit from healing and empowering qualities of creating art and music. It's done in collaboration with the John Burroughs School and Christy Merrill Music Therapy, and focuses on expressing arts through a range of music therapy, painting, songwriting, and other areas like that.
I want to ask you about your background. Before we do that, though, let's look at one more. And this is one I'm really familiar with, though, the Big Money Dance Company.
Oh, yeah, they are quite remarkable. And their proposal, this is called Senior Embrace, and this is a health and wellness program. Senior Embrace, I like that.
I knew you were going to say something about that.
It's a health and wellness program that utilizes movement to impact physical confidence, improve cognitive capacity, and promote self-efficacy for older adults. And it provides a creative outlet and adds a quality of life for seniors. So it's very remarkable what people are doing right now in so many different media.
I have a birthday coming up in a couple of days. Don't mention seniors again. Hey, I want to talk about you for a second, though.
Oh, of course. I want
to change the subject really quick. No, because it really has a lot to do with your interest in the arts. Because, as I said before, you're a pediatrician. You're affiliated with SLU and Cardinal Glennon. But you're also an artist yourself.
Right.
People may not know you have a little singing gig on the side.
Well, yeah. I am a cabaret performer. I have done 6 full cabaret shows, and my way of defining it, a cabaret show is a personal show of personal stories about your own life that weave together into a narrative that includes maybe 10 or 15 songs, lasts about 75 minutes, and my tagline is, show starts at 7:30, you laugh, you cry, you have a few drinks, you're out by 9 o'clock.
Don't bring up the senior thing again. Senior hours.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting, you just did, you've done a lot of shows over the years.
Right.
I've seen 1 or 2 of them in the past, but you just did one at the Blue Strawberry just very recently, and it's about, your name is Ken.
Right, so it's called I'm Just Ken.
So I had to know, did the Barbie movie help you in any way?
Well, it's helped me a lot. Yes, I was lucky enough to be able to perform that Oscar registered trademark, Oscar-nominated song in the show, and it was a lot of fun. But the thing is, this show in particular, it originated 5 years ago as my birthday show when I was 65, and I've changed things up over the years, added things, dropped things, but basically it's about what you learn as you get older, what you knew when you were younger, and how that makes you the person you are today, still yearning to go forward and learn new things.
Right.
So it's a fun show.
And give a quick plug to the Blue Strawberry. That's located on Euclid in the Central West End.
Right.
You have all kinds of performances there.
Oh yeah, Blue Strawberry is an amazing place. In 2022, the RFT called it the best place to hear live music in St. Louis. And so I should be doing a show there sometime in the summer, but there's plenty of other stuff. So go to bluestrawberrystl.com and find a show. I mean, that's the thing, is it's become a destination for a lot of people because they know if they go there, there's always going to be a great show.
And Jim Dolan.
Oh, yeah.
He was on this show with me. It's probably been 10 years or something.
Yeah.
So tell him I said hello.
I will.
Let's take a look at some more of the organizations that are benefiting from these grants. And the next one is Covering House. Now, that's one I'm not familiar with at all.
Right. Well, Covering House is okay. They're doing a program with a credentialed music therapist to enhance and expand their own arts and healing program. And this therapist will help to tailor group and individual methods to fit each client's musical ability, interests, and needs. And their clients will be introduced to various musical instruments, including ukuleles, which I think is really cool, and guitars and keyboards and rhythm instruments. And they'll explore popular artists' songs and learn lyrics, learn about how to write lyrics, about song construction, things like that.
And we talked about this in the first segment of the show, but maybe we should emphasize it again. The point of all this art stuff is that it helps people with their health.
Oh, yeah. The thing is that I know, again, for myself, people say, oh, you do those shows on the side. I'm like, that's not the side. I mean, sometimes I heal with a stethoscope. Sometimes I heal with a story and a song. So I don't think of these as like two separate things. It's like they're both the same thing. They're just different aspects of the same thing.
I read a little bit about you, and just comment on this, that when you were a kid, this was probably before you ever dreamed of being a doctor, when you were a kid, you realized the need for healing, and that, I found this interesting, and that healing is not the same as curing.
Yeah. Sadly, I have been in situations where I have taken care of kids with conditions that I've not been able to make better. And these kids, unfortunately have passed away. And yet it's important to find a way to be a healing presence in someone's life and to be there to help people through that journey. So curing is not the same as healing, but curing doesn't always happen, but healing is something that we can all be present for and be part of.
We're talking about the Arts and Healing Initiative, who've just awarded grants to these nonprofits. Let's look at a couple more.
Sure.
And you can give us a little brief description about what they do. This is the Ragtag Film Society.
Oh, yeah, the Ragtag Film Society. This is a program of free monthly film screenings and community conversations. It's called the Show Me series. Imagine that. And it is a co-curatorial endeavor between Ragtag Cinema and 5 community partners that invites diverse races, ethnicities, cultures, and genders to discuss large community issues, seeking to evolve a film-centric space into one that embraces the community's wellness. So this is basically about, just getting together, watching a movie, having a great conversation about it with people who might not ever run into each other in other spheres of their lives. And just, how healing and how enriching is that?
They're bonding.
Yes, exactly.
Let's look at the next one, Bread and Roses.
Bread and Roses, yes. They have been around for a while, and they are, their initiative in this program is about caring for the caregivers. So the Bread and Roses will complete a series of story circles to gather the lived experience of working class people who are also paid or volunteer caregivers of small children, older adults, and those with chronic health conditions and or disabilities. And storytelling is a huge part of what it means to be human. In fact, again, in my show, there are songs in it, but frankly, the most important part and what people tend to remember most is the stories that link all this together. So what makes us most human is the ability to tell our stories.
This next one is one of my favorites, Circus Harmony, because Jessica Hentoff, I've interviewed her on TV and radio for years. In fact, her sons were actually on this show probably 10 years ago and actually did some circus performances.
Oh, that's great.
And so it's a great organization.
Yeah, and let me find what and so their initiative is, in this particular, is called Defy Gravity 101. It's a curriculum devised to teach the art of life through circus education. So while children are having fun and learning to flip, fly, and juggle, they're also learning important life skills like focus, persistence, and teamwork.
And they perform a lot. People, I think they're with Circus Flora every year, plus the other things that they do.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing.
Hey, I wanted to ask you one thing, too.
Yeah.
You actually teach a course for medical students.
Right.
And I think this kind of relates to everything we've been talking about.
Right, exactly.
The name of the course is Acting Like a Doctor.
Right.
What do you mean acting?
Well, this is it's 6 3-hour seminars, and it's an elective for first-year medical students. And basically, we use the skills of improvisational theater to teach students to be a more mindful, empathetic physician. Because the thing is that people say, oh, I've never been an actor, and yet we're always acting. Now, acting is not pretending. Acting is becoming who you need to be in that place. So the role of physician is one that I, was performed this morning over Cardinal Glennon. Here, I am in the role of a board member of the Arts and Education Council. When I do my shows, I am in the role of Ken Haller as I'm presenting it to the audience. When I'm with friends, I'm in a different role. So this is really teaching students what is the role of the physician. What do people expect in that setting? How can we be most completely ourselves in that setting and still be a physician?
Ken, we just have less than a minute left, and we didn't get to talk about all the organizations that are benefiting from this, but just overall, what would you like people to know? And maybe there's some other organizations that could benefit from your grants, and what should they know?
Well, at this point, the grants, this particular grant is ended, and we have worked with UMSL with their statistics people to try to get some data back on what's worked and what hasn't. And we hope that we can present that to, for new grant cycles in the future and really put that data together so other organizations, other cities
can you say without a doubt that these organizations, because of the money you give them and because of what they do primarily, they're really making a difference?
Oh, yeah, they are making a difference. We have heard back, the data we've gotten back from both the artists and from audiences has just been phenomenal. It's just like this has just been life-changing and the sort of thing I'll remember for the rest of my life.
How do you get that feedback?
Well, the organizations, because it's a Missouri Foundation for Health thing, they need data back. And so we have audience surveys, we have all kinds of ways of measuring these things, but in ways that arts organizations often don't. But the arts organizations have been very grateful too, because now they actually have people saying to them, yeah, this is really great, I really love this. So we are in the process of kind of looking at the data that we've gotten from the 46 grants we've given over the past 4 years and the $450,000 that was spent on those grants to see what we have learned and how we can be even more effective when we propose more grants in the future.
And using the arts to help you physically and mentally, does that happening everywhere or just here? And we just got 5 seconds.
I think everyone should do it. I think we have done something remarkable, and I hope that other people replicate it.
Dr. Ken Haller, thank you so much, and keep up the good work.
My pleasure.
With the Arts and Healing Initiative, and I'm all for mental health, that's for sure. And there's some information if people want to look into it further. Ken, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, Steve. Thanks for asking me.
I'm Steve Potter, and thank you for watching City Corner. Join us next time. Bye.